This week on Quad and B, as promised last week, we will remain in the Acadian Peninsula. This time we will be in the southeastern region of the Acadian Peninsula, and once again we will present you 4 other clubs. Quad and B, stay with us.
One finding itself in Brantville, the other in Great Tracadie, the ATV Club Saisons and the ATV Club La Randonnée Nord-Est form the eastern crown of the Acadian Peninsula in one of the largest regions of the New Brunswick All-Terrain Vehicle Federation. We could call the Acadian Peninsula the New Brunswick capital of winter quad, as the majority of clubs are grooming their trails during the New Brunswick winter. Hats off to the many projects on the drawing board that will allow the 625 members to benefit 4 season trails in the near future, thanks to a great number of projects that soon will be realized.
Here we are back to Quad and B once again. Because of the heavy rain, we moved inside. We would like to thank West End Sports to host us here, to give us the opportunity to bring you in this I can call it perfume, the brand new machine's perfume, which as a man, when you smell that, I don't know why, we have hormones somewhere that get lit, and it's something for us. We become little kids. As usual, we have our guest this week, still Roger Daigle, the president of the New Brunswick All-Terrain Vehicle Federation. Roger, it's still fun to have you with us.
Well, thank you.
And once again, we are bringing you into a brand new area, 4 clubs in the southeastern part, loop of the Acadian Peninsula. Last week, we discovered beautiful things, splendid things in the northeastern part of the, I should say the northern part of the Acadian Peninsula. And still this week, we will find out that things really move in this area. 4 clubs. We'll talk about a Tracadie club, which is called La Randonnée, VTT Saisons, Brantville, and in the second part of the show, La Rivière, Maltampec, and also VTT Acadian Peninsula, St. Leonin. Let's start with the 2 first ones, Tracadie and Brantville. Also 4, one season clubs that are grooming seasons, but those clubs really working hard to become 4 seasons club.
Absolutely. I know that they are trying to get some summer trails, and it's costly, and it's costing them quite a bit, and that's why it's been so. It's a huge mountain to climb. In other words.
But we're getting there.
We're getting there.
And things move, as we said in another show. By the time we started the shooting, and by the time that those shows are aired, many things have changed.
Absolutely.
For all the regions, for all the clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, these 2 clubs are still part of the Acadian Peninsula, and it's the capital of the world as far as quad driving in the wintertime.
That's it.
They all have winter groom trails.
And they all have shelters.
Many shelters.
We talked about teepee last week, but all the other clubs have typical shelters that make their pride.
Exactly, and shelters are necessary for to get warmed up. They call them warming huts in that area, because they use them mostly in the winter, and it's a necessity for them, because that's where you stop, have a break, and get warmed up on those cold winter days.
Brantville Club, Club VTT 4 Saisons, or ATV Club 4 Seasons, they have something similar as we talked about last week in the other sections of the Acadian Peninsula. They still give access to wonderful view along the bay. And then you look on one side, you look at the water, you turn on the other side, it's a complete different decor.
Absolutely. Most of their trails are along the water, and they provide awesome views. And when you get closer to the woods, they have trails through the woods. That brings them to another different world. It's a world where you're bound to see animals, wildlife, and stuff. So it's Absolutely. Well, it's New Brunswick, part of New Brunswick.
That's it. Let's talk about the Tracadie Club. Big investments. We talked about
Yes.
it. The northeastern part of New Brunswick in 2016. Big investments. The Federation was involved, not in financing, but involved in the investment of $1 million with all the clubs, all the projects. This is huge, Roger.
It is huge. It is huge, and it's happening more and more now
Yes.
with towns and cities. They want to invest where they can go and have fuel, have restaurants, motels, have access to those places. And more, the towns are contacting our clubs, as I said before, to for them to apply and get access to those places.
This is something that we see more and more. You're talking about the towns that are contacting us for information to work with us. We see the same thing from other organizations to get involved in their events.
Absolutely.
We see that quite often.
Yeah, and Tracadie is one of those places that lately they've been working with the municipalities, and they have pinpointed certain streets and certain areas where ATVs will be allowed to travel through Tracadie and make it to those motels, restaurants.
That's it.
And places where they need to go.
That's it. Tracadie has many things to see. There's there's the bay. There's a wharf. Like many other places, this is something that we need to see.
Yes, you touched a magic word there. The wharf, the beaches. The beaches are awesome in the summertime for tourists to come down. And they can travel some trails that the local use in the summertime.
That's it.
And they would surely enjoy, especially the beaches, the wharf, where you and let's not forget the seafood. Seafood in that area, lobster. Oh yes. Let's not forget the seafood.
Yes.
Enjoy lobster, the scallops, and bar clams. It's an awesome place to be. Almost said awful. Didn't mean that.
No,
awesome.
We get excited when we talk about ATVing because it's so many exciting things to see everywhere
Absolutely.
we go. Because we've seen it with the previous shows, and we still have a few shows left, and we'll discover it as long as we move elsewhere in the province. So let's get back to Tracadie. I'm working with the region director, Roland Thériault, on a specific project. Have access on the streets, specific streets that were identified, really well studied and analyzed by the chiefs of departments in the city of Tracadie. So it was approved, and now we're waiting for the approvals of all those, and then they will have access also, as well as Bathurst or Edmundston, any other city, to some services in town.
Absolutely, and it's a necessity. I mean, the government's been asking us or telling the people that they need new monies coming in the province, and our ATV product is one of those monies, is one of those activities that will bring in tourists. And from 2012 or 2013, we were less than 9,000 members. We're up to 20,416 in 2015. So we're growing fast.
You're right, and we see that trend in the Acadian Peninsula. We see it probably even more than the other clubs, mostly for winter season. Because as it was mentioned, this is the largest, I would say, region. If we look at winter ATVing, so I can call them, as we said previously, the capital of winter ATVing.
Absolutely.
Which that sport is starting to be recognized by Tourism New Brunswick also.
Well, it's starting to be. It's a slow process because I believe that the tourists don't want us to make competition with the Snowmobile Federation, but hand in hand, it's two different sports. Two totally different sports. And we're not only 2-3 months of a year, we're 12 months a year.
That's it.
And once the Acadian Peninsula starts getting summer trails, I mean,
it will make a big difference.
It's going to make an awesome difference. Yes.
And as mentioned, the impact what the ATVers bring in the communities, money-wise, it's huge.
Exactly. And I was talking to somebody last week, and they said that they were at least 20 of them that went on a ride into the Acadian Peninsula, and they stayed there for 2 days, and on average they did bring into to the economy somewheres around $5,000 during that week. So
in no time.
In no time, yeah.
Just a small group.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So yes.
Roger, you have to stick with us because
Yes.
we're not done with you yet. We'll take a short break. We'll come back, talk about two other clubs, Maltampec and Saint-Léolin. They also have tremendous things to share with us. But at the same time, we will talk a little bit about how choosing the proper clothing to go ATV, because this is something that is really a need and has to be addressed properly. So you stick with us, and you stick with us also, because Quad NB is coming back in a moment.
Did you know our vision is of a province-wide trail network linked to local member trails that ensure safe ATV trails for everyone? We want to ensure that everyone can actually view New Brunswick from the inside. To do so, the Federation has made the commitment as a club federation to address ATVers' concerns throughout the province. Our federation has partnered with the New Brunswick Agricultural Alliance, NB Power, the New Brunswick Snowmobile Club Federation, and the New Brunswick 4x4 Association in educating members on the agricultural private lands use and respect. We are developing the infrastructure and the tools to view more of New Brunswick from the inside. In our strategic development plan, we're working towards the vision of an ATV trail network of recreational trails throughout the province, including a number of recreational closed course trails for persons under the age of 14. We're already in the last portion of the tour of the ATV clubs in this magnificent Acadian Peninsula. The Club VTT La Rivière, a winter club only, is mainly concentrated in the Packetville area. More than Edith Butler's native land, this community is the center of all winter trails in the Acadian Peninsula, offering a load of services. For the Club VTT Péninsule Acadienne, it is the link between the Acadian Peninsula and the Chaleur area, passing by the coast. The agricultural land along the old rail bed are simply beautiful to behold.
Yes, we're back on Quad NB, and once again, we're still in this beautiful setup, not put there especially for us, but it's a rainy day today, so we decided to present you this show inside. We're still with our guest for today, Roger Daigle, president of the New Brunswick All-Terrain Vehicle Federation. Roger, what a nice experience. We've discovered two other clubs in the first part of the show. Now we are going to discover two other clubs that I think you've had the opportunity to visit. One of them was Club VTT Péninsule Acadienne, which is the Saint-Léolin area.
Right.
We'll be talking about this one, and also Maltampec, which is called Club VTT La Rivière. Well, let's start with La Rivière. It's close to Packetville and have nice things to visit also.
Oh, absolutely, and they do have trails along the river, which is absolute beauty. They have trails through the woods also, which is where we like to ride.
That's it.
Exactly. And they also have winter trails. Again, it's a winter riding club mostly.
That's it. Yes.
And for sure, we're in the Acadian Peninsula, and again, it's the capital of the world for ATVing in the winter.
Well, what we see, we have the opportunity to see, and what we have discovered with this show about other clubs in the Acadian Peninsula, is that more and more are working to become four-season clubs, and most of them are really getting there. Because we said previously that the Acadian Peninsula, there was no four-season club, but we mistake, because Saint-Léolin has summer trails that you had the opportunity to ride on.
Yes, we did.
2015 Jamboree.
Absolutely, and it's an old abandoned rail bed, and it gives them access to go to Chaleur, and from there they can make it to Bathurst. So it's a beautiful ride. And what's beautiful about that is we cross many pastures where farmers have cattle out in the field, and they even have cattle gateways. I don't know what you would call it.
The crossing.
The crossing across the ATV trail.
Yeah.
And when the cattle are crossing, the farmers will close those gates. There are signs up, and we can see them from miles away.
Yes.
And it's an absolute beauty when you get there and you see those herds of cattle going by, and then the little calves just trot along. It's an absolute beauty. And that works well because without that, the farmers would be hesitant as to let us drive by there. But with these type of gates, they're absolutely no problem.
And the ATVers respect the cattle also.
They do.
We need
They
to
do.
say that. Yes.
Absolutely.
Most of them will stop, get out, stop the engine. That's what we suggest.
Yes.
Stop the engine, just stand there and watch them cross. Sometimes it takes 10, 15, 20 minutes. But it gives time to chat a little bit and have fun with the others.
And absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that because there are also horses using those trails. And when it's important to know that when you're meeting a rider on a horse, to pull your machine as far off the trail as you can, stop the machine, turn off the engine, and then step off the machine, stand in front of the machine, take your helmet off.
That's it.
That's very important for the horse to recognize that you're human. And don't stand behind the machine because then it's going to think if it's not used to an ATV, it's going to think that thing's going to attack them, and that's going to make them nervous. But if you stand in front of the machine, then it realizes that you have control over the thing, and he won't be so hesitant and walk by.
It remains an animal.
It is an animal, and it doesn't think like a human. So you have to respect the horse and rider.
You're right. Let's get back to Packetville Club because I personally lived many experiences over there. You get there in wintertime in Packetville, it's packed of ATVers. There's many restaurants there. It's a cluster of restaurants.
Yes.
You get there Saturday afternoon, you can hardly travel through there because all the trails converge there, and it's packed of ATVers.
Absolutely, and that's the beauty of doing ATVing in the winter and summer, wherever. But when you're riding in Acadian Peninsula, you're going to meet at least 1,000, if not 2,000 of ATVers. And when they gather, it's so friendly. I mean, everybody's friendly, and you get to meet new friends. You get to make new friends. That's ATVing.
Yes. Well, you take the St. Leoland Club. Yes, they're a Four Seasons club. There's something specific about them. They own a little shelter. Well, it's not a shelter. It's a little clubhouse. They bought it on.
Yes.
They paid it themselves, and this is another sign that clubs are really improving. They're increasing in membership. And that also has an impact on their membership. Absolutely,
and the more that they put in their trails, put in their club or club. ATV club.
They're called houses.
And they have shelters also.
Yes.
Many of them build windbreaks, they call it. It's just a fenced-in thing, and they build a fire, and it's a place to get warmed up. And it's very important when you're riding in the winter.
And then you can stop and chat, have lots of fun. It's endless fun because you stay there, you sit on your bikes, you go back, and the next stop, you're anxious to get to the next stop.
Absolutely. As I mentioned before, that's where you make your friends. That's where you make friends.
That's it.
Absolutely.
We have many things in common. Roger, let's step to completely somewhere else. Doing ATV and how would I say that? Start to love it. Really love the experience. You have to choose the right machine.
Absolutely.
Mostly for kids.
Yeah, mostly the kids. If you have intention of buying an ATV for a kid, make sure it's child-appropriate machine.
That's it.
And when you do, make sure that the kid, your child, takes an ATV course. It's the law in New Brunswick. The child has to have an ATV course, and the adult accompanying the child has to have an ATV course also.
It's not based on physical appearance. It's based on age.
On age appropriate machine.
Yes,
I mean, common sense.
And more than that, choose the proper clothing. That's
Clothing
important.
is very important. Clothing, because if you, especially when you ride in the winter, get clothing that will keep you out or keep you warm. Because yes, you're in your machine, and you're all all the machines have now hand warmers, thumb warmers. But someday that machine may break down, and you may have to walk out the woods. And if you're not dressed properly, especially with the side-by-side now, many people buy those side-by-sides and they put doors, caps, and they got heat inside your their side-by-side. But if that side-by-side breaks down, most of them don't bring the proper clothing because they just dress up to go riding because they have heat inside the cab. But if they break down, they're in trouble.
You're right, you're right. And then there are a few things that we can bring along, practical things, stuff, as you say, if you get stuck in the snow, or if your machine just breaks down, there are certain tools that you can bring.
Absolutely.
First aid
Extra gas is a must. Extra gas, because you never know how far you're going to go, or maybe you may have a gas leak that you don't know, and then the gas is going to leak out, and you'll be stuck without gas. Another thing is a GPS. Bring a GPS with you, because yes, you know, most times you know where you're going, but you may go off trail, and a GPS will get you back to where you were. Another thing is a must is a first aid kit, because okay, we hope we don't have accidents, but if accidents do happen, and if they happen, it's good to have a first aid kit, and bring extra food. I mean, you don't know how long you're going to be on there, or you know, most times you plan your trips. And never ride alone.
Oh, that's
always bring a friend with you, because if you do break down, that other person can help you out.
Right. Roger.
And one more thing would be a cell phone. Most people bring their cell phone, because if they do get stuck, many places don't have cell connection areas, but where you have cell connection areas, all those clubs should be marking those cell areas that you can make an emergency phone call if you need to.
Right. Roger, nice tips.
Thank you.
For a nice ATV activity event. Thanks for being with us once again.
Well, it was a pleasure being here.
Yes, but it's not over yet, because it's over for this show.
Yeah.
We talked about Tracadie Club, Brentville, Maltampec, and Saint-Léolin, but it's not over yet, because next week we will be moving in the Chaleur area, still there, make you discover all the clubs in that sector. So pardon me, next week. See you then.
Welcome to Riding Tips with Jim. This week we're going to talk about the proper way to load, secure, and unload your ATV from a trailer or a truck. Check and secure the ramps so they cannot slide. Ensure your safety gear is on. Approach straight on, not at an angle. Ascend the ramp in low gear using four-wheel drive. Ride up the ramp, gently increasing the throttle until fully on the trailer or truck bed. Come to a stop using all brakes. Set your parking brake, shift ATV to neutral, and turn off the ignition. Dismount the ATV. Use 4 tie-down straps to secure all 4 corners of the ATV. Slightly depress the suspension while tightening. ATV tie-downs should be rated appropriately to secure the ATV without braking. Ensure you eliminate all movement of the ATV while traveling. Unloading the ATV. Detach your tie-downs. Ensure your safety gear is on. Check and secure the ramp so they cannot slide. Start the ATV and shift into reverse. Ensure your back tires are aligned with the ramps. Reverse straight down the ramp, leaning slightly forward to keep the ATV in balance. Apply all brakes as necessary to control the descent speed. This has been Riding Tips with Jim. Keep it rubber side down.